It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. The Dep Lewis Show. It's the Dep Lewis Show. Welcome to the Dep Lewis Show, episode 176. This is your host, Dep Lewis, and today is Sunday, April 19th, 2026. A great day for a podcast about video games and more. So I hope you're doing great out there in the world, wherever and whenever you're listening to this. Thank you for being here. The first order of business is to ask you to follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch replays on games live or check out the videos later. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime, for any amount if you would like to support the show. And today's show will have three sections as always. The first section, I'll tell you about what video games I've been playing since I've last talked to you on this microphone. The mid section, which is not mid in quality, it's the middle of the show. That's where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. In the third and final section, the Miscellaneous Talk section, that's where I can talk about anything I want to outside of the video game world. So I like to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams at the end of the show. And one of my favorite teams, or actually my favorite team of all teams, the Atlanta Braves, are playing later in the day today. So that is a reason for this podcast being a little bit later in the day. I keep saying the podcast is going to get back on early morning track, but the Braves keep on playing later in the day games on Sunday. So it's been giving me a little more wiggle room, I guess, before getting the podcast out. And then if we're listening in real time, the Braves game starts in about an hour and 20 minutes, so should be about perfect length for a podcast today. So welcome to the show. I've been trying to think what's been going on with me. I have gotten a tooth pulled since I've last talked to you. So, if I sound any different, if you're like, what's going on with this podcast today? It's because I'm missing a tooth. It was a wisdom tooth, so I might be even more stupid going forward in the future. But luckily, I only had one tooth, and it was a pretty simple extraction, as I guess they would say. So I'm back. I'm lighter on my feet. I'm missing a tooth, so that's one good thing. And I went to a card show over the weekend. There was a card show close by. I've been to a couple of them now, so that was pretty fun. I got to see Carrie's Cards and Collectibles. So if you want to go check them out on YouTube, this is some promotion to them. They're a really cool channel. I met them in person. I found out they had YouTube. Started watching their channel, and now I've met them a couple times, and it's fun to run into those guys. There's three brothers, Wes, Pat, and Joe. So please go check out Carrie's Cards and Collectibles. That's just a card show promo for today since I'm in card mode. And then if you need a cool shop in North Carolina, Mint City Collectibles is another one. So if you're listening out there in the world and want some cool cards around the North Carolina area, those are some really, really good options. So I had fun out there looking at the Pokemon cards. Bought a few Pokemon cards, bought a couple magnets, and just had a good time looking at cardboard. So that's what's going on with me on the intro front. But let's get into the main thing to talk about today, which are video games. So what have I been playing since I've last talked to you? It's really only been one game, and it's a very close comparison to the card show I was going to, because I've been playing Pokemon LeafGreen. I'm getting close to the 50-hour mark in this game, possibly. I have completed 7 of the gyms now, so that is the really big news since I've last talked to you. But I've also done some other things before that. So last week, I was in Seafoam Islands, having some struggles. I think I ended up getting surf. Last week was kind of my big accomplishment from the week prior. And then in this week since I've last talked to you, I've been able to actually complete the, I guess I didn't technically complete the Seafoam Islands because it has a boulder puzzle in the Seafoam Islands. So this is pretty much a good warning to you out there if you're a LeafGreen or Fire Red player, that the boulder puzzles in Seafoam Islands, if you screw them up, you're not able to go back and correct them. So I pretty much turned the Seafoam Islands into a dead end, but it was still fun going around there catching Pokemon. And the biggest thing to report from the Seafoam Islands for me is I caught Articuno. So I caught him on my second attempt, so I pretty much had one sitting where I tried a million Ultra Balls, Great Balls, whatever I could try, Great Balls of Fire, and I had to reload my save, or I just kind of gave up for another day. I even asked a guy at the video game store, I'm like, hey, do you have any tips on
catch an Articuno, and he basically said, hey, I'll just say a prayer for you to get him. And the next time I go on to play, I get him down to low health, which was a little bit tricky, and then I catch him in like 2 balls. So the first time it seemed like it was going to take 90 balls to catch Articuno. The second time I come back after taking a break, I pretty much catch him immediately and was just, extremely surprised. I was even thinking I might have to use my Master Ball at some point, but I'm glad I can still save that. And I caught a level 50 Articuno, so that was extremely cool. And I had to go back to the Pokemon Center to add Articuno onto my team immediately, and that's what I have done. So Articuno has made the lineup of the top 6 Pokemon that I'm running in LeafGreen. So my lineup right now is Flareon, Venusaur, Articuno, Mr. Nitto, which is Nidoking, Snorlax, and Lapras. So the only change there is I guess I got rid of Raichu. So I'm missing Flash in my party, but I don't know if I need Flash for anything immediately, but that's something that I'm considering. But Articuno, super cool. I've been leveling up Articuno. So let's see, what else have I been doing in Pokemon Leaf Green since I've talked to you? So I semi-completed the Seafoam Islands as best as I could. I caught Articuno. And then after this, I realized, hey, I made this a dead end, so how am I going to, get around the world properly? And I decided, I looked up, I needed to go get Fly. So I was able to get HM02 Fly. And that was just, I think you need Cut to be able to go get Fly. It's just right outside of a city. And you just need to be able to get to the area, and then someone gives you that HM. So perfect timing, I taught Fly to Articuno, and then I also taught Blizzard to Articuno to give Articuno another move that can deal some damage. So I have Fly, I have Blizzard, and then I think Ice. There's another Ice move or something that I have. So Articuno has about 15 moves that I can do for damage, which is pretty useful just for being, I guess, not a water type, but an ice type. Well, I could be a little bit wrong on those, but, rounding out my party pretty nicely. Because I don't think, I guess I have Lapras. That's my other water Pokemon, but really, really cool and a strong Pokemon already that I don't have to really level up too much. And I've actually been putting the experience share on Articuno, so trying to grow up the Articuno even more. Venusaur is still my strongest Pokemon, I think level 67. Flareon's number 2, up in the 50s, I believe. And then Articuno, I think, and then Nidoking are probably my strongest ones. And then Lapras is my Surf Pokemon right now. So I got the HM02 Fly, so now I can fly to any town that I've been to, which is super helpful. And I flew back to Pallet Town, because that's how you need to get to Cinnabar Island. That's where the 7th gym was. So I flew to Pallet Town. I surfed to Cinnabar Island. And at Cinnabar Island, I completed the Pokemon Mansion. I got the secret key at the end, which opens the gym. So you're not able to open the gym unless you complete the Pokemon Mansion. And then I took down Gym Leader Blaine for the 7th badge. And I almost took down this whole gym with Flareon. So Flareon's definitely my favorite Pokemon in this game so far. And I got the Volcano badge. And I also got the TM Fire Blast, and I gave that to Flareon. So I've been strengthening up Flareon's fire moves to kind of make my Flareon a little more specific, having some fire in the arsenal, so I can really exploit those weaknesses out there in the world. So I left the gym after getting the Volcano badge. Bill pops up and asks me to go on a boat to an island with him. So I take the ferry, pop over to an island, and you basically have to go deliver a message for Bill. And you get a few roadblocks on the way. You have to go help find Lestrel, who got lost in the woods. So I went and found Lestrel, and I was able to complete the island area. I don't know if I actually caught any new Pokemon there, but I bet there's some Pokemon that you can hunt there, which would be pretty fun to do or go back to. And I completed the island stuff for the main story, and I went back to the real world after. So I've been making some pretty good progress on Pokemon Leaf Green. I've now taken myself to Viridian City, so that's one of the early cities you see in the game, but you're not able to access the gym, I believe is the case. So now that I'm back, I have 7 badges. The Viridian City gym is open, which is led by Giovanni. So I'm ready to take down Giovanni. That's actually where I saved, so I'm trying to decide if I should go do some leveling a little bit more before trying to tackle Giovanni, but the next time I report on this game, I will probably have at least 8, or I probably have all 8 of the gyms done. So Giovanni specializes in ground-type Pokemon, and he is going to hand over the Earth badge to me, very, very shortly. So it's recommended I use water, grass, or ice-type Pokemon. So Venusaur would be good, and Venusaur and Articuno are hopefully going to be very helpful. And then Flareon just in general, because Flareon has been super strong for me, especially with his move Bite. So that's what's been going on with me in the Pokemon world. I've been having a whole lot of fun with this game. I'm going to be excited to be done with all 8 gyms, and then I have to go take on the Elite Four after. So I'll be excited to do that. I've definitely never done that before, and this could, be the first Pokemon game that I've ever completed. So it feels good to be getting somewhere close towards the end, and I've been having nothing but fun with this. I've been, blazing through this game, and it really has me wanting to play some Fire Red as well, or get into some of the other Pokemon games. But it even has me want to play Fire Red just because I love this specific game so far. I think this is a, maybe I'm going to end up finding out, which Pokemon games I like better than the other ones. But this one is a really, really strong start, and it's got to be a high contender for, one of my favorite categories for the Dep Lewis Show awards at the end of the year is my favorite game from a prior year that I played this year. And, LeafGreen has to be a really high contender, along with Animal Crossing New Horizons, which I played a bunch to start the year. So those are probably the 2 strongest ones in that category so far. And, the year is just getting started. We're kind of like maybe a fourth done with it, but, it's still really early. And most of the games that I'm looking forward to playing aren't even out yet. So I should have a lot of time to be playing some Pokemon. So that's my main update this week. I've been playing Pokemon Leaf Green. And there's another little update on stuff I'm playing, but I'm kind of save that for the midsection. So I just want to make you aware of that. Few other things I've been playing and something to catch you up on from last week. So that's a teaser for the midsection. But this is the year of the front log on the Dep Lewis Show. That's the theme for the year. So not trying to focus on the backlog or making a list of games to complete or do any deep dives in the back of a franchise if I don't want to. So focusing on looking forward. So the year of the front log. So my front log list, though, looks like Forza Horizon 6 on May 19th for Xbox. And then I'm going to have to wait to play at a later date on PlayStation 5, but that's supposed to come out in this year. And that really is my most anticipated game, Forza Horizon 6. Mina the Hollower is coming out spring 2026. So, time's really, really crunching on that. I would be surprised if it gets delayed again, but I guess I would also not be surprised if it gets delayed again. If it gets delayed again, I'm going to think maybe there's more of a serious problem. But the demo of that game is very, very fun, so please go check that out. I think the demo, at least, is very promising that they have something there that seems like it's going to be a good game. So I feel confident it'll come out, but I feel like they're being a little bit vague on the release time. Rhythm Heaven Groove is on the front log. This is a new addition. After last week, I've decided to add this on there because I'm pretty excited about this. This is not a full-price game, which is nice, and it's going to be releasing on July 2nd. Marvel Token Fighting Souls, August 6th. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, August 27th. Marvel's Wolverine, September 15th. They've been talking about, hey, that's only 5 months away. Or Insomniac has been saying that on their social media. And then Grand Theft Auto 6, November 19th. Another one that I think I've called recently or before that it's going to get delayed. And I don't know. I don't have anything to report on that I've seen. But I still think this will get delayed if I had to make a guess. But it's on the front log for now. So, that's everything going on with me this week. I've been playing some Pokemon Leaf Green. I've been looking forward to the front log. I've been looking at Pokemon cards in the wild. Cool card show this weekend, so that was really, really fun. And, that's everything going on with me. So that's going to wrap up the first section of this show. And we are going to play some lovely break music and come back for the midsection where I tell you everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. Welcome back to the midsection of Dep Lewis Show, episode 176. This is where I tell you about everything going on around the video game world that you need to know. And the first bit of news I want to tell you about is something I alluded to in the first section, and that is a Splatoon 3 update. So the last weekend, there was a Splatfest going on that I did participate in. I didn't really play a ton, but I definitely played some matches, and I played some matches for the Little Bunny Squad. So the Splatfest is it's a 3-team event where you pick a team, you fight for that team all weekend. All your wins, all your points accrue over the weekend, and it tallies it up, and it says who is the winner at the end of the weekend. So last week's Splatfest in Splatoon 3 was it's spring, it's a time for fuzzy fluffiness is what they said. It took place from April 11th through the 13th. You could either be on Baby Chicks, the Little Bunnies, or the Bear Cubs team. And, I represented Little Bunnies as hard as I could, but the Little Bunnies did not come out on top. The Team Bear Cubs were the winner of the Splatoon 3 Splatfest last weekend. So congratulations to Team Bear Cubs. I'm sorry that I couldn't help Little Bunny team out anymore, but Splatoon 3 is a wonderful video game. I still have fun with it all the time, and I look forward to these Splatfests. It's always a great reminder to play the game, and I'm glad that they keep doing these, and I hope they keep doing them in the future because I'm going to keep playing and talking about them on this show. So please go play some Splatoon 3, one of my favorite video games of all time, and a Dep Lewis Show Game of the Year award winner. So very special to me. All right, so what else do I want to tell you about going on? Let's get into some new releases from last week. So I've definitely been mentioning some of these games on the show in the past few weeks, but I always like to make sure you're aware of what's going on and what's out and available now, especially if you're listening in real time. So Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream is available right now on Nintendo Switch. There's not an official Nintendo Switch 2 version. I don't know if that's going to come at some point, but it's out right now on Nintendo Switch. It released on April 16th. It is $59.99, so a $60 game, Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. And in this game, you can become the caretaker of an island full of silliness, drama, love, and other surprises. Absurd situations await as you populate your island with me characters based on yourself, family, friends, or original creations. Get to know them, design a world for them to explore, and watch them come to life. You can create me characters based on your family, friends, or your own original ideas. Your experience in the game depends on your characters you create to live on your island. There are a few ways to build and I bet there's more than a few ways to build and collect me characters. So Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream. I'm slightly interested in this. I think I think it's a little bit unusual. This is coming out so close to Pokopia because they're a little bit, they're in the sim version of games. But, I guess they're different enough, and Pokemon its own thing. But I don't have any familiarity with the Tomodachi franchise in the past. It was a really big 3DS game, and this one does look like it has some really good quirk and charm to it, would be how I would put this one. So, life sim, but, more quirky, maybe a little more outlandish. I think it kind of leans into the relationships more of like the people on the island can be dating or be friends, or they can, have enemies or people they don't like. So I think some of that stuff is funny, and the ability to customize your character. So I think if you are a creative person, I think this game can be for you. And especially if you have other friends that are into it, it could be really fun to see how your towns could potentially collaborate and things like that. So I do get the appeal of these games and have a little bit of a temptation to play. I guess Pokopia I have more temptation recently, but Tomodachi Life is something I could see myself playing in the future, but it's not something I'm immediately rushing to. All the kind of like review talk I've seen about it has generally been pretty positive. I don't think people are like completely over the moon or enamored with it, but it seems like it is a really good game, and I haven't really heard any complaints. So I think that's probably a stronger statement than like people being over the moon. I haven't really heard too many people saying too much negative about it. So it seems like it's living up to the hype, possibly getting some new fans, and it seems like it's seems like older fans of the genre or of the game are enjoying it as well. So Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream is available now for Nintendo Switch. All right, this next game is called Pragmata, and it's available now. It released on April 17th. It is $59.99 US dollars, and this is a game that I've actually purchased. And I played a little bit of this. I haven't played a ton. That's why I really didn't talk about it in the first section, or that's why I did not talk about it in the first section. But everything I've played has seemed really awesome so far. So Pragmata is developed and published by Capcom. It's a unique, is what they call it, sci-fi, and I think it is, sci-fi action-adventure game from Capcom. Follow Hugh, a member of an ill-fated investigation team, and Diana, a young android, as they navigate a lunar facility taken over by rogue AI in search of a way to Earth. So I've heard a lot of people saying, hey, this is like Resident Evil in space. I've heard a lot of people comparing this to a PS2 game in a really like nostalgic, kind of loving way, saying, hey, they don't make a lot of games like this anymore, where it's like a real, stab. This is a new IP, and really taking a stab at something. Maybe it's not like a 60-hour open world experience, but it's a lot of people say, hey, we would have gotten 5 of these on PlayStation 2 back in the day, but it seems like a lot of people are really thankful for this. And the cool part about this is I bought this game digitally on the Nintendo Switch 2, and it looks really awesome on there. So I think I'm pretty much fully sold on the third-party application on the Nintendo Switch 2. I think it does a great job of playing third-party games. I think the Steam Deck probably plays some stuff better. Maybe some of the more higher end. I don't know about the ROG Xbox Ally. Probably plays some of the more higher end stuff better. But I think in general, the Nintendo Switch 2 is doing a really, really great job at running third-party stuff. And this is another example of it as well. I haven't I guess I didn't really look at this game in handheld yet. I played maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and played it all on my TV. It looks extremely good, and it's the little bit of the PlayStation 2 comparison. I think is an apt comparison. I guess maybe would be the way to say it, because it's the story's not too heavy, but it's interesting enough. The characters do a good job of making themselves memorable early on. The controls feel really great in this game. It has some cool controls when you're Hugh, of like getting around the world and then shooting your gun. The hacking mechanic is really interesting and cool, and I've heard people say that doesn't get old over the course of the game and is continuously fun. So kind of the gimmick in this game, it's really a third-person shooter, and you have this android you meet that looks like a little kid, but it's an android, and the android will get on your back, and it's like Mario Kart Double Dash a little bit. The android on your back, Diana, is helping you be able to hack the enemy. So you're able to hack their armor in real time as you're aiming. You could possibly be shooting, and then then on the screen comes up from Diana's doings that you can press one of the face buttons in a particular order to kind of hack, kind of like take down the armor of the enemy. So it's another kind of cool thing in there, and I think it's extremely helpful. So it's just people keep saying, hey, they took one mechanic and built a whole game around it. I think that's kind of one of the comparisons why people are making the comparisons to a PS2 game. That's just, a lot of games try to be everything to everyone these days, and this one's a little more focused, and it seems like they really, really nailed it. So Pragmata, really impressive to start with. I've been, I really can't make any promises with this, or you guys might not believe me out there in the world, but I really have been thinking about streaming this game, and possibly just trying to stream the entire thing of it. So, look forward to that. Please follow my YouTube if you'd like to follow me on any particular place. My podcast is available anywhere, so you can listen on your favorite platform of choice. But whenever I do some streaming stuff, I do it over there on YouTube. So please, keep your ears and nose to the street, or your eyes on my YouTube over there. You might catch me streaming Pragmata one of these nights soon, and you could also watch those videos later on my channel as well. So that's kind of my plan I've been kicking around. I would understand if you don't believe me on the streaming stuff at this moment, but it is something I've been thinking about. So Pragmata seems really, really cool. Seems like it runs great on Switch 2, according to me, and I'm excited to see more and more about that. I'm still kind of waiting on a new game really to strike me from this year. Mario Tennis has really been the only new game I've tried so far. It was fun, just, the core game of Mario Tennis is fun, but was overall disappointing with the online stuff, which I was really hoping to get hooked on and would maybe have more features, or even the ability to, consistently find people to play on there. Is the most disappointing thing about Mario Tennis. But Pragmata seems very fun, and I will keep you updated, on any happenings with me over here with Pragmata. All right, so the Pragmata is available now. It's available on PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 2, and Steam. So, really anywhere you want to play it. All right, what else is going on I want to tell you about? Overwatch now has an official Switch 2 version. Overwatch is a free-to-play game, a hero shooter. I don't know. I think the Switch 2 launch or the update has been a little bit rocky. I don't know if it's been affecting the game poorly, but I don't know if it has really been living up to what people would hope for. But I really want to mention this just because I think I like that they're doing this. And, maybe it's going to take a couple updates to get it to be completely right, but I would love for them to update a lot of, really popular, or, I would love for them to update most of them, but any game that they want to give a Switch 2 version of that makes a game that I previously owned run better, I think that's a really great thing. And then especially, I guess my main point with this is with the third-party stuff. So things like Persona 5, would be high on my list. I wish we'd get a Switch 2 version. The Witcher 3, I wish we'd get a Switch 2 version. Those are both two games that I think don't run. They definitely don't run their best on the Switch, but I think they could definitely run better for where you would feel comfortable playing them over another version. I know if you just have a Switch, obviously you can just play those versions and it would be fine, but I'm just really getting nitpicky here that I think they could look better, and I would love for them to have a Switch 2 version. So that's what they're trying to do here with Overwatch. I don't know if it necessarily hit so far, but the Overwatch update for Switch 2 the Switch 2 update for Overwatch is available right now. And Overwatch got some new content added in within the last 6 months that really had people excited. So please go check that out. And I guess like Fortnite's another one too. Like all these, there's a lot of third-party games I wish would get a bump on the Switch 2, and I'm sure those are coming in the future. So, I'll definitely keep you up to date on things like that. But that is the update on Overwatch. All right, what else do I want to tell you about that happened in the last week that I think you need to know about? Hades 2, a really cool game. I've enjoyed everything I've played of it, and I would like to play more, but the news here is Hades 2 is officially available on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. It came out on April 14th. Hades will run you $29.99 US dollars normally, but it's on sale on both platforms on Xbox and PlayStation Network. I checked for $23.99. Developed and published by Supergiant Games, battle beyond the underworld using dark sorcery to take on the Titan of Time in this bewitching sequel to the award-winning roguelike dungeon crawler. So this game's on Switch 2 as well. Came out on Switch, and I guess Switch 2, and PC. It runs it incredibly well. It looks great on Switch 2, so I'm sure it's looking even better on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. And Hades is a beloved franchise, and I think from what I've played, I played a good portion of Hades 1, and I played a small portion of Hades 2, but I think everything in Hades 2 I've liked a whole lot. I've liked more, and it's definitely on my list of stuff I want to play sooner than later. All right, so Hades 2 pretty much available anywhere you want to play it right now. All right, a new announcement from last week is a game that got announced, and it's going to release in winter 2026. So no firm date there, but winter for Metro 2039. So this has been announced. It's coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and Steam. Developed by 4A Games, published by Deep Silver. And in Metro 2039, it's going to take you to the dark heart of the Moscow Metro, where the last survivors of the nuclear apocalypse cling to existence in the tunnels and subways of the ruined city. Hope is lost, the future looks bleak, if there is one. So yeah, everything, never played a Metro game, but everything from those games does seem very bleak. It seems very dark, it seems gritty, and I think people really enjoy that franchise. So, I haven't been hooked on the Metro or really ever given it a shot, but I think this series has loyal fans, and it's nice that they keep releasing games that hopefully will be quality, and wanted to make sure that you're aware that Metro 2039 has been announced and possibly is coming out this year. But we also need to remember that there was I don't think I ended up putting it in the news this week because it was maybe too rumor milly, but Fable is supposed to be coming out this year. I think they're still saying, hey, it's coming out this year, but a lot of people will be seemingly getting out of the way of Grand Theft Auto. I know that, I'm about to say I know that, the release date doesn't matter, but it does matter. Grand Theft Auto is going to be a really big event in the video game world, video game ether universe, all those kind of things, and you probably don't want, you might want to release on the day Grand Theft Auto comes out. That could be some good publicity, but if you're looking to, it's just going to be getting up. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be taking up a lot of the mind share of the world, so that's just something to consider with your release date. So I don't know. I think Fable is seeming. I just don't believe it. It's just been a long time going around the Fable bend, and that's one that I would be slightly interested in trying out. I like Fable a lot from back in the day, but I think it's kind of been too long, and I think they've been dilly-dallying a little too much here, and I think they're doing a little more dilly-dallying. But yeah, that was down the rumor mill train there. But Metro 2039 has been announced and is coming out this year, allegedly. All right, what else do I want to tell you about from the past week I think is important? Gears of War E-Day. That's a game that's supposed to come out this year as well. There is going to be a direct. It's going to be 30 minutes in length. So we already knew we were getting a direct. I think the news here is that it's going to be 30 minutes, so a pretty substantial direct on Gears of War E-Day. It's taking place June 7th after the Xbox showcase. So those are, the summertime, there's always a really good week or two that is awesome to talk about video games. We get a ton of announcements during Summer Games Fest and these showcases, and some of my favorite times to do the podcast. So please always, you should listen to me every week, but especially during those times, it's just really fun to have all that great information to talk and tell you about what I think is cool and interesting from them. So Gears of War E-Day Direct coming over the summer, June 7th, going to be 30 minutes. That's the news. Just some general Gears of War E-Day updates if you want to know about that. Developed by the Coalition, published by Xbox Game Studios. Experience the brutal horror of Emergence Day through the eyes of Marcus Phoenix in the origin story of one of gaming's most acclaimed sagas. The story of E-Day, 14 years before Gears of War. War heroes Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago return home to face a new nightmare, the Locust Horde. These subterranean monsters, grotesque and relentless, erupt from below, laying siege on humanity itself. So, even thinking right now, I have a lot of affinity for the Gears of War franchise. It's definitely one of my favorite of all time. 1, 2, and 3 are amazing games. I completed 4 last year. would like to play 5 at some point, and I think this Gears of War E-Day is a really, really smart move. They're going back to the complete origin, going back to before the first game for the combination of Marcus and Dom, which is a really, really amazing duo of video game characters. So I think this should be the perfect shot to see if Gears of War has any legs for the future, and I think they're really handling this pretty well here. And this is the perfect chance to get some new fans in. Maybe some young kids out there have just heard about the mystique of Gears of War but never really tried it. But it's as box office or AAA as you can be from back in the day. I don't know if it necessarily has that kind of power these days, but it's always been a game with a great campaign and really, really fun multiplayer that's hard but can be rewarding if you like to play it. So if they can nail those two things, I would love that to happen. And I hope this game, I really do hope they are focusing just as much on the single player as they are the multiplayer in this game. I've kind of said that's something that I miss from back in my day, but a lot of games will come out with both modes in the game. They wouldn't necessarily be focused just on one and maybe shoehorn the other one in. And sometimes I guess they would shoehorn the multiplayer in, but that could be fun. But I think if you can have both working in unison, it's a pretty awesome thing, and that's a way to get one of these games where people are going to play it for 20 years down the road. And that's something that all these companies are certainly looking to get. But it takes a big commitment. I think it takes a little bit of magic, and it certainly takes a lot of hard work and like a really, really good game. So there's a lot of factors in there. But I think there's a lot of talk about Xbox these days, but I think this is something that they are on track to do perfectly right. And I think they need to put the marketing budget into this as much as they can. And I'm excited for Gears of War E-Day for sure. So June 7th, we'll get some more information on that. So the last couple things, getting into the rumor mill. I think I mentioned that a minute ago, but I had the rumor mill, on high alert last week, thinking we might get a Sony State of Play in the past week, but that did not happen. So I just want to make you aware that did not take place. So maybe we're on the lookout for a Sony State of Play. Maybe we're waiting for over the summer for all the big showcases, but certainly I will always let you know what's going on. All right, the last two things to talk about are, well, they're video game adjacent, but these are two things I just want to tell you about. The Call of Duty movie is coming. I think this has previously been announced, but this is they've released a date for it, so it's set to release theaters. Maybe don't buy a ticket to this one if you don't want to. Don't get your popcorn ready, because Call of Duty the movie is coming to theaters June 30th, 2028. Yes, you heard that right. We got 2 years to wait for this thing to cook, so you have plenty of time in between. So this was an update from CinemaCon 2026, which I guess just took place. But the Call of Duty movie, Paramount and Activision are developing and producing, with Paramount distributing, a live-action feature film based on Call of Duty, designed to thrill its massive global fan base by delivering on the hallmarks of what fans love about the iconic series, while boldly expanding the franchise to entirely new audiences. So one of the most successful video game entertainment franchises of all time, Call of Duty has topped more than 1 billion players and generated over $35 million in revenue over its lifetime, while driving pop culture conversations for over 2 decades. So trying to bring Call of Duty to live action. I did hear at the card show today, so a lot of card shows will have different card games. So one of the ones you see a lot that's been really popular is One Piece recently, and I've been tempted to get into One Piece just because there's a lot of excitement and fervor out there for it. And someone actually recommended to me today a good entry point is the live action version of One Piece. So that's just something out there, maybe some advice or something just to remember myself. But One Piece definitely has some cool looking cards out there, and people say the manga is good. They say the series with 1,000 episodes is good, and they also say the live action is good. So and the cards are cool. So it seems like there's something great there, and maybe just a little bit of a shout out to One Piece here at the in the midsection of the Dep Lewis Show. All right, so Call of Duty movie. Back to what we were talking about, the news. Call of Duty movie set to hit theaters June 30th. But wait, not this year. So don't get your popcorn ready. Don't wait, not next year. June 2028 for the Call of Duty movie. All right, the last bit of news I want to tell you about from the past week that I think is important is another movie, and that's the Bloodborne movie. But this one has been announced. So Bloodborne was a game from PlayStation, and I don't know why I'm blanking, From Software, and I believe that's right. I don't know why I'm blanking on that. From Software does all those Souls-like games. And let me even look that up while we're on the show here, because I'm feeling like a dummy. Bloodborne game. Yep, From Software. Okay, I don't know why I was blanking on that, but they certainly have a lot of really, really iconic franchises and games. But Bloodborne movie has been announced. This is more CinemaCon 2026 news. PlayStation's Bloodborne video game is being developed into an R-rated animated feature for Sony Pictures that the studio says will embrace the carnage that made the game so popular. This will be very true to the gory spirit of Bloodborne, which follows a traveler who journeys into a gothic city full of nightmarish creatures. So everyone wants the 60 frames per second Bloodborne or the remake, and maybe we'll get this alongside the movie at some point. I did play some Bloodborne back on PS4. I'm kind of a little bit of a chicken with some of these video games with hard combat or horror, but maybe I'll get into them more over time. But I think Bloodborne was probably the first From Software game I ever really tried. So it's kind of my first. I guess the From Software games really hit a big stride around Elden Ring. They had a lot of popular ones before that with Dark Souls and Demon Souls. But Elden Ring was mass popular. That was maybe when it got, I never really was, I knew maybe my cousin played Dark Souls, but it was just never something that seemed too intimidating for me to try. Bloodborne had a lot of hype around it. I tried it. I enjoyed it. I just never ended up pushing through too much. And then I guess Elden Ring is probably the From Software game I played the most of. But, something I would probably try that out if they finally released an updated version of Bloodborne. Or maybe I would even try out the older version still. But the news here is that a Bloodborne movie has been announced. And I don't think there's really any release window, but, an announcement is the news. So that really is everything I got for you for the midsection of the show this week. So we talked about Splatoon 3. We talked about Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. We talked about Pragmata. We talked about Overwatch, Hades 2, Metro 2039, Gears of War E-Day, the Sony State of Play that did not take place. That was a rumor mill. We talked about the Call of Duty movie and the Bloodborne movie. So that is everything I got for you for video game thoughts for the week. But there is one final section of the show to go, and that's the Miscellaneous Talk section. It's usually pretty short and sweet. I like to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. Even if you don't like sports, I think it's a worthwhile listen. You can hear the ups and the downs of my fandom. And, a lot of times as a sports fan, you're going to have to face some down. So, if you're like my friends, you can come through and make fun of my teams or, listen to a few things that are good going on around my sports fandom. So please come back for the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 176, after this music. Welcome back to the final section of Dep Lewis Show, episode 176. This is the Miscellaneous Talk section where I can tell you about anything I want to outside the video game world. So as always, I want to get into the worldwide world of sports and tell you what's going on with all my favorite teams. And starting off with the NFL as always, my favorite team is the Carolina Panthers. Nothing really to report on them. It's the offseason. Looking forward to the NFL draft in the upcoming week. I guess that's something. Looking at my notes here, the NFL draft is taking place April 23rd through the 25th. So that'll be, I guess, towards the end of next week. So that's pretty exciting. And the Panthers should be pretty much in a good position to draft, best player available. I don't think there's any really huge need. And I think that is nice. And I think that's something that really hasn't been the case for many, many years. The other bit of Carolina Panthers news, they're going to build a new practice facility for the Panthers in Charlotte. So that's going to be, if you want to go watch, training camp, it's going to be the place where you're able to do that. Hopefully it's going to be really, really nice and easy for people to come through and watch practice. That'd be really, really fun. And I think they're going to be taking a pause on the fan interaction stuff for the upcoming year. But I guess the following year, the whole new setup is going to be introduced. So that's very exciting for the Carolina Panthers. All right, so that's all the NFL updates. I will definitely, tell you what happened in the NFL draft on the show next week. And go Panthers. All right, for the NBA, the regular season wrapped up last week. And I'm a halfway fan of a team, the Charlotte Hornets, since I'm a North Carolina resident in the past few years. And, if you don't know, the Hornets season is officially over now, though. But there was a little bit of drama. There was a little bit of excitement to it. But last Sunday, they had their final regular season game, which was against the Knicks. It took place at 6 p.m., and the Hornets closed out the regular season with a 110-96 win against the Knicks. And then that put the Hornets in the position where they were in the play-in spot trying to get into the playoffs. So last Tuesday versus Miami, the Hornets actually won 127-126 in overtime. It was a really, really amazing game. LaMelo dropped 30. He had the game-winning bucket. Miles Bridges had a block at the end to, seal the deal. Bam got injured early in the game, which is unfortunate for Bam and the Heat fans. And there was a little bit of controversy if LaMelo tripped him or not, but, that was definitely a big factor in the game. But the Heat rallied, and it was just a really, really competitive game all the way through, and was very exciting to see the Hornets win that game in Charlotte. I was watching on TV, but it looked like this arena was going nuts. It was fully packed, and just really, really, a little bit of a taste for playoff basketball for the Charlotte Hornets, which was nice. And then their next matchup was Friday at Orlando. This was the win or get in game, and it was not really even close at all. So I guess the Hornets used up all their goodwill and season energy in that game versus the Heat, and really just came out flat versus Orlando the entire game. So the Hornets lost 90-121. They were down 30 pretty much that entire game. So not really very drama filled in that game at all. But a little bit of drama there to end the season. Would have been nice to see the Hornets get into playoffs. I believe they were going to play the Pistons, and that would have been a really fun 7-game series to watch. But I think the Hornets overall, I don't know if they exceeded expectations, but I would say, hey, they probably lived up. Got kind of right around where would have been a nice expectation. They've been really, really hitting on their draft picks. Con Knuppel probably will win Rookie of the Year. He had a disappointing game, and he got benched at the end of the game versus the Heat that they won. So a lot of people were talking about that, but he was playing pretty poorly. Kobe White was playing insane in that game, so I kind of get the basketball logic behind it, but I think Con is perfectly fine, and he was an amazing rookie, and hopefully will have a long, great career for the Charlotte Hornets. So, congratulations to the Hornets on a great season. I'm sorry we all couldn't see you get to play some playoff basketball. I think the country or, the world in general was falling in love with the Hornets a little bit, day by day, and I think they are on a great trajectory. So, hats off to the Hornets. All right, my favorite team that I've been angry at since the Trae Young trade, the Atlanta Hawks, they closed out the regular season last week against Miami, and they lost. So the Hawks lost their final game of the season, 117-143 against the Heat, and they finished the season with a 46-36 record. I believe this got them the 6th best spot in the East, and they are officially in the playoffs. So their 7-game series against the Knicks began yesterday, and the Hawks lost the first game. It was a semi-close game. It looks like it's going to be a tall order for the Hawks to take down the Knicks, and the Hawks lost 102-113. So very disappointing, but it is a best-of-7 series. The games next week will be Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, so I'll have to report back to you next week on what the Hawks are going to do. But I've been mad about the Hawks, most of the year since they traded Trae. But watching Jalen Johnson play is a very nice concession. He's an outstanding young player and certainly worthy of building around, and makes the pain of Trae getting traded away a little bit less. But I'm still a little bit angry at the Hawks. I'm really even watching them, and it was kind of a disappointing game yesterday. So I think the Hawks have a lot of figuring out to do, and I've been saying that for a long time on this show. So my favorite team in the universe, however, is the Atlanta Braves, and this is switching over to the Major League Baseball section. But since last week, the Braves played last Sunday night, just like they are tonight. They're about to play in about 30 minutes. Last Sunday versus Cleveland, the Braves won 13-1, so certainly a very nice win. And then to start the week, the Braves were at home playing the Marlins. So Monday versus Miami, the Braves lost 4-10. Tuesday versus Miami, the Braves won 6-5. Wednesday versus Miami, the Braves won 6-3. Thursday was another off day again for the Braves. I believe that's been the case for the last 2 weeks. I believe that's the same cadence. And then the Braves have been playing at Philly over the weekend. So I haven't really got to watch too much of the Braves over the weekend so far because of the basketball going on the last couple nights. So I'm excited to get to watch them on Sunday Night Baseball tonight. But Friday at Philly, the Braves won 9-0. So they skunked them. Saturday at Philly, the Braves won 3-1. And then Sunday, this evening, if you're listening real time, the Braves are going to be playing at 7:20 for Sunday Night Baseball. So I've been very impressed with the Braves. Chris Sale pitched an amazing game this week. Raciel Iglesias had a little bit of, I think it's shoulder discomfort. So that's really tough to see because I do have him in fantasy, and he's been really, really good to start the season. He's someone who has taken Braves fans and myself on a roller coaster throughout the couple years he's been with the Braves. But he was really playing well early on this season. So hopefully it was just more of a precautionary move for his shoulder. And I hope that he can get healed and put his hands up to the sky for a lot more saves in the future. So that is my Braves update, and go Braves. I'm going to be excited to go watch them in just a little bit on TV. All right. So those are all my Braves thoughts, and I think those are all my sports thoughts for the entire week. So we talked about all my favorite teams: the Panthers, the Hornets, the Hawks, and the Braves. And I just want to say, go Hawks and go Braves. And I will definitely keep you up to date each week with what's going on with them. So you got to come back next week as always. So that's going to wrap up the final section, the miscellaneous talk section, and that's going to wrap up the entire show. So I'd like to reiterate some promotional talk from the beginning. Please follow Dep Lewis Show everywhere. Full episodes of Dep Lewis Show available anywhere you can find a podcast. So find the best place to subscribe and listen weekly. Places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Amazon Music, and more. YouTube is also a great place to watch you play some games live or check out the videos later. If you would like to support the show even further than just listening, patreon.com/Dep Lewis Show is available if you'd like to subscribe monthly. Also, Venmo at Dep Lewis Show is available any day, anytime for any amount if you would like to support the show. I want to thank you so much for listening. I'd like to also report that this is, I don't know if it was last week, but this is officially the second best month over the course of the history of the Dep Lewis Show for downloads. So I really, really appreciate that. United States has been holding it down for me, but the people in Singapore have been listening, and Brazil's been catching up to Singapore. So, shout out to you, especially out there in Singapore and Brazil. It's really unbelievable to think that, people around the world listen to this show. And I really, really appreciate it. I believe, the stats on it are crazy. Even, a lot of people might not say it's a lot of downloads, but I think it's up to 98 different countries that have people listen to the Dep Lewis Show. It was up to 78 recently, and these are just things that I follow because it's just really really mind blowing. So I just really, really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy it. Please tell someone if you enjoyed it. I would love to get more listeners of the show, and I just appreciate you so much out there. So, if things are going your way, I hope that continues. If things are not going your way, I hope that changes. I hope you have a wonderful week out there in the world. Hope you get to play some video games. I hope you get to have some fun. I hope you get to eat something good. I hope you get to have some time off work. I hope you find $100 on the street. I just hope you have a great one, and I also hope you come back and listen to another episode of Dep Lewis Show next week, because that's where I'll be, and I'll talk to you then. Goodbye.